Hello, everyone. Welcome to the newly branded LifeWriting.com conversations. I'm your host, Christopher Jones. With me today is Mr. Nicholas Johnson, a pharmacist in Savannah, Georgia, along with his wife, Miss Tracey Johnson, a nurse also in Savannah. Hello, Johnson family. How are you?
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good
I'm
morning,
great.
Chris. Thanks
Great.
for
Thanks
having
for
me.
asking. So, look, National Wellness Month, as you two very well know, it truly evolves around elements like self care, managing stress, and promoting healthy routines, no matter what that looks like, as long as they're healthy. First, I'd like to learn a little bit about the two of you. I'm going to start with Mr. Johnson, the
All right.
pharmacist. So, Mr. Johnson, tell me,
Yeah, Chris.
what is it like being a pharmacist, especially in today's environment?
Well, Chris, that's a very good question. Being a pharmacist is always challenging, of course. Uh, a large part of it is the customer service aspect of the job. My biggest goal when I'm interacting with a customer is just to be sure that they leave knowing uh, that their health care is important and that they understand the regimen that they are to follow concerning the medication.
I come to learn that you guys have to deal and manage a whole heck of a lot, and it should be a totally different level of appreciation for our pharmacists. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I tell you, as it relates to Miss Johnson, I have a lot of nurses in my family, a lot of friends, who are nurses as well. One in particular, my cousin Jennifer,
Oh,
which
God
and
bless you, Chris.
how I met your wife, Ms. Johnson. And I really appreciate Jennifer making that introduction. So, as it relates to health and of course, wellness as such, nursing is another profession that really spans the gamut. When it comes to wellness in and of itself, from a nursing standpoint in your day to day, please expand on what comes to mind and what does that look like when it comes to nursing.
wellness and nursing. Ironically, you're probably, if you did any rudimentary research on the health of nurses, you would find that they're not the healthiest people. Um,
Oh wow.
and yeah, I know. And the reason being, there's the it has it has a it's like a twofold issue with nurses. Nurses tend to be women. Women tend to be the caregivers in at home and in the nursing profession, and we also are just starting to realize the importance of placing our health care or our self care right up there with the care of the people we're caring for. So finding that balance has not always been easy. One of the biggest issues we find is that we will run out of time for ourselves. We'll put ourselves on the back burner. In these latter years, we're finding where there's been a push to make sure that we're exercising, eating right, taking time for our mental health, which is a very big deal, especially while we're going through this pandemic. This pandemic is a big deal. It's a big stressor. So
Yes.
um, wellness for a nurse is a conscious effort to um, put yourself right up there on the top of the list with everyone else. While you're taking care of your patients, you got to take care of yourself. And one of the things I try to remember is you can't be anything to anybody else until you're something to yourself. That's what I try to
Ab-
remember. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Very well said. So nursing itself, and we've had conversations before, and I know you've been in and around it for quite some time. But how did it come about? How did you know you wanted to be a nurse?
Uh, I grew up in a very poor. I mean, just no other way to say it. We were very poor, um, and out of that came three things that really really piqued my interest:
Uh huh.
teaching, law, and nursing. And if you actually, when I really look at what I'm thinking, what ties those three things together for me was advocating and caring for other people. And I think that comes from my great grandmother, because she was, her whole world was taking care of me and my sister. And it translated into, well, that's just how you interact with the world. You take care of people. So what I did was, I loved reading. I loved school. And those were my areas that showed up repeatedly every year. Because they used to do these little books where, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the three things, they were the three
Right.
things that repeated: teaching, nursing, law. So I find it interesting at 50 that I am, I'm nursing. I've done some teaching of nursing students, and the law part of it. I think I am the law part of the nursing, my nursing experience, because I am such an advocate for um, my coworkers, new nurses, and my patients. I'm an
Mm.
I, I, I don't have a lot of inhibitions when it comes to that. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not. But I'm willing to take the risk. I'm just an outright advocate. I have no problem speaking up and saying what's on my mind if it's in conflict with what's in the best interest of those people around me.
I can definitely follow that. Definitely follow that.
Mhm.
And via some of the nurses that I know, they
Yeah,
have other, a lot of similar things. It's nursing
Mhm.
is definitely one of those professions that, I mean, you got to be all in.
you got to.
It takes a
Mhm.
special kind of person. I mean, I know we can say that with many professions, but really have that nurturing side of you in line and in check. And it kind of it really goes along with what you said a minute ago about ensuring that you take care of your vessel first,
Yeah,
right? All of those
exactly.
things that you're telling them, that you're promoting to them or what have you, to turn around and point that finger and implement those things in your own lives as well.
And it's very important. It's so. I think now with the with the just the discussion about everyone's care, especially in light of this pandemic, I think it's coming to light that if you want to do this for the long term, if we're
Hmm.
talking about years into the future, in order for you to get there, you got to take care of your vessel. You have to.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
to. So it's just as important while we're doing Heart Health Month, or whatever the breast care, mammograms. It's very important that nurses take the time to do that for themselves. Um,
Absolutely.
and because we have male nurses, you have to think about prostate, and knowing your numbers, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your blood pressure, those types of things. It's very important, and to
Right.
take the necessary steps to prevent or treat
Mhm.
or halt the progression of any disease that may be occurring.
Absolutely.
Bodies
Mhm.
age, and that's what we do. Bodies age. If
Body's
you
age.
look,
Right.
bodies age. Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for breaking it out like that. So, and Mr. Johnson, from a pharmacist
Yeah, Chris.
perspective, or I want to ask specifically first, like
Mhm.
becoming a pharmacist, like when did you become so interested in it? When the first idea?
Well, for me, it was a bit of a journey, you might say, Chris. Initially, when I enrolled in my university studies, that was not the plan to become a pharmacist. I was thinking about something more along the uh, engineering side of life.
Okay,
Uh, uh, but once I got into college, and I just kind of started looking around, and I thought to myself, well, uh, engineering, it really was not interesting me. And I wanted to do something that I felt like I could make an impact in my community, honestly. Uh, I grew up in a very small town, uh, and, and very frankly, most of the pharmacists that I knew, well, actually all of the pharmacists that I knew in my life, were not African American, were not Black Americans. And so for me,
Mm,
I saw it as a career field that was respected in the community,
hmm.
that was helpful to the community. And just from a pragmatic, practical point of view, I knew that I would be able to support my family
Right.
in this field. And so that's kind of how I ended up in pharmacy. I will say it has been a good life for us.
Okay.
Um, I have a basic philosophy, you might say, about employment and jobs and things of that nature. And my rule of thumb is that if you are satisfied, happy, content, uh, challenged 75% of the time in what you're doing, then I tend to believe that that's a pretty good fit.
Yeah.
And that's been the case for me.
So,
Absolutely.
in another question along the lines of your day to day, I'm curious with you breaking that out. You said, one of the things that led you this way towards pharmacy was to have an impact, right? You didn't see
Hmm.
many people that look like you, if you will. So,
That's correct.
having said that, what has been like one of the highlights of your career thus far?
Oh man, well, highlights of my career most definitely have been just connection that I've made with people, generally speaking. Uh, you know, I can remember having conversations with uh, patients who may have just recently lost a loved one. Just seeing the pain in their face and just being able to experience and to give them comfort. Uh, I can remember conversations with patients who uh, were very grateful for the small amount of time that I was able to give them, uh, just talking about their day. Not necessarily always focusing on their health condition, but
Hmm.
trying to understand who they are as a full person. Uh, there's been so many conversations, man, where I've had with young people who have like come up to me and ask, how do you get into this?
Mm,
What's it like? What are the steps? That's always encouraging. Also, that's always very encouraging just to see somebody who shows some interest in the profession
right.
and who just wants to know a little bit more about it. So yeah, yeah, those are a couple of things that stand out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Ms. Johnson, when it comes to nursing, what is one of the first things, and I know you have many, but what is the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to the highlight of your career thus far?
Right, right. My patient interactions are definitely. You would think that I would say something, and even I'm surprised when I think, passing the boards, gaining national certifications, or
Mhm.
moving into a new area of nursing. But the highlight each time, whenever I sit and think about why am I so ready to go back to do this after I've been frustrated all day, it's the
Okay.
patient interactions. It really
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Um, I, I don't always like the people, but I really love interacting with them. Um, it's the
I can understand that.
it is the this is regardless of race, color, gender. Uh, None of that matters when a patient entrusts their life and their health to you, and they're looking to you for reliable, uh, sound advice on what they're feeling or what they're going through, or what do I do next. Um, and in the right now, working in the recovery room, some of the more um, memorable moments have been when people have been when I've had a patient who's experienced a loss, and under anesthesia they come out. The drugs of anesthesia cause
Mm,
you to they sedate you, but they
right.
also cause you to forget.
Right.
Um, and so the patient tends to come out uninhibited, and so
Mm,
you hear some of their more intimate concerns,
okay.
and I reassure my patients that they're in a safe space. If you need to cry, you cry. If
Hmm.
you need to be angry, be angry. Whatever goes on here is between me and you. So at that moment, I go from being a nurse to a counselor, almost a
Yes.
priest. And I love those interactions because I get to be everything. And it is amazing that God has entrusted me with this ability. So I don't take it for granted at all. So I try to remind myself, and sometimes I'll say to my coworkers, they don't realize that I'll do this for free of charge, but I dare not tell them that because if I don't get my money on time, we're gonna have a problem. But I love it. I really love what I do, even though it
Wow.
burns me sometimes, and there are times when I wonder whether can I do one more patient today? Uh,
Right.
Something about that patient rolling out and just needing someone to protect them. It's that protective
Yeah.
factor that really is what draws me to this profession.
What things you guys do to promote healthy routines, to manage your stress levels, to take care or to ensure that you are taking care of yourselves after a long day? Mr. Johnson, I'll start with you.
Well, that's a very good question, Chris. For myself, I, I I'll give you the basics. I have a very basic sleep routine. Regardless of the day, I go to bed approximately the same time. I wake up approximately the same time, even on the weekends.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a set routine for me. Um, and that is mainly because number one, of course, it helps me, my body adjusts since I'm accustomed to it. But
Hmm.
also, there's a lot of data out there that does say that just trying to get yourself into a regular sleep routine uh, is very positive for your health. So I have a sleep routine. And then also, what helps me with the day and the stress of decompressing is that I do have a commute involved with my job. Uh, so it takes me, approximately maybe 45 minutes to get from the workplace back to my home spot. And with that in mind, that's 45 minutes where I've got time to just kind of decompress, uh, listen to a little bit of jazz, something along those lines so that by the time I get home and walk in the door,
Hmm.
a lot of that tension has been released. And probably the final thing I would say is that I'm a believer in trying to exercise on a semi-regular basis. I
Absolutely.
mean, my goal, just to share this with the people, is that I try to get in 3 to 4 days of about 20 to 30 minutes of aerobic exercise per week.
Okay.
And I have found that that is very, uh, very helpful also. I mean, what it does for me is not only does it, you might say, quote unquote, uh, watch my weight because, we all have a tendency to go what I like to call the daddy belly.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and so it helps me with that. It helps me with just the basics of heart health. Uh, but a good workout, man, you get a good workout in, you feel great afterwards. You're ready to conquer
Absolutely.
the world. So those are the basic components to what I do, along with just trying to monitor what goes on my plate as far as being sure I throw something green on there, 1 or 2 times a day. That's basically it. It's the basics, but it's about trying to be consistent with
Right.
the basics. That's where the payoff comes in.
I
Yeah,
wholeheartedly agree. And you emphasize several times those are the basics, right? It's
right.
just, and I don't have to tell you to this. You see it every day, but it's amazing from my vantage point. Not being in the medical field or even remotely close to it,
Hmm.
of seeing how many people just don't make that simple connection. Like those things should be basic, and
Right. It's
and
the
so many
basics.
people have not incorporated those quote unquote, like you said, should be basic things in their daily lives, and
Well,
it pays dividends.
well, I think a lot of it, Chris, just kind of goes back to the fact that we what I mean is just we as people, as human beings, and
Hmm.
especially here in our society where it's about success and achievement, we tend to not to take that big bird's eye view and step back and look at the small building blocks.
Right.
So, you could have a person who is working hard, trying to put food on the table, trying to take care of his kids, her kids, and because of not stepping back for that bird's eye view,
Hmm.
we'll miss and not really see the importance of the basics.
Right.
Because one of the things about the basics is that it does take consistency and time to see the payoff.
Mm.
And that's the thing. Consistency and time to see the
Mhm.
payoff.
To
And
see the
so
payoff.
often, yeah, often what happens, we give it a go for 10 days, which is really only 3 days of real commitment if we're honest with ourselves.
Right.
And we stop. It gets pushed to the side,
Yeah.
pushed out of the way. I've been guilty of it myself. I can recall a 6 month period where it's like, oh, I'm just coming home and sitting down. And I would literally look
My
at
hand is
my
raised too.
calendar. I would look at my calendar because I believe data is king. So I document when I exercise. But I would look and I would be like, dude, you haven't done anything for about 6 months here. What's going on?
Hey, but
And
look, Mr. Johnson. No,
yeah,
that right there, we laugh at that, and you
yeah,
like, I'm a data guy. I'm big on numbers. I'm driven. But look, those type of data driven decisions,
right,
the ones that are going to really keep you in check and call
right,
yourself out. More of us, and I'm kind of harping on this too because
right.
I'm a numbers guy. I love taking notes, writing the whole nine. I harped on that because I've recently started to do even more of that when it comes to
Hmm.
health related matters, though. Right. So
Hmm.
I'm glad you said that. So
Yeah. I mean, you might be
yeah,
familiar with the phrase that you have to inspect what you expect. You
that
know, you
there
know,
we go.
if you don't track it, it's not measured.
That-
All these little cliche phrases that are out there, but it's so true. It's so relevant that unless you actually track it, you being we as people, not you specifically, but if we don't track it, if we don't
right.
record it,
Right.
look at it, investigate it,
Mm,
we're just going by how we feel. Oh, I think I worked out 5 days this week. But
mm,
when you actually look at the numbers and actually look at the time, you're like, that was really probably about like 1.5 days that I did
mm.
something. Yeah,
Now, look the whole time. Your wife is over there nodding her head, right? Yeah, I'm
yeah,
eager to hear what methods and methodology she uses or what have you. But I know for a fact I can relate to a lot of what you just said. So, Miss
hmm
Johnson,
Yes.
what what do you do managing stress and taking care of yourself? What does that look like for you?
I am an NPR nerd. So I have there's about a 45 minute commute for me as well.
Okay.
And that time I look forward to because I completely decompress in that time. Um, I like to Netflix and sit on the couch. Now, what's funny, what I found amusing is that Nicholas is definitely the person. If you want a coach, he is the coach. I mean,
Okay.
and he can be almost annoying. He's
Okay.
and so he has these subtle ways of saying, "Hey, when's the last time you hit the treadmill?" Well, I don't want to talk about that because I'm one of those people who likes tracking data. I do,
Hey,
especially that
look.
data. I
Hey,
find it.
hey, Miss
And he
Johnson.
is what we're gonna be together for the rest of the day. And I can
Uh-huh.
almost hear him saying, we talked about this on he's right. He is. He has been so influential in
Really?
my life and in the kids' lives because he got us all on My Fitness Pal.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we have a group chat, a family chat, and he'll send out inspirational messages about health and exercise and finances. I mean, he covers the gamut. So
Wow.
he has been quite influential in the area. He really has. It's just that
She's too kind. You'll get your $20 after the show, baby.
Hey, but look,
Oh,
look.
sorry for interrupting, Chris.
No, no,
Go
no.
ahead.
That's another element that's commonly missing. Those accountability partners.
He is, and he is
Yes.
for all of us. He will. He has motivated. We have 4 kids and 3 add-ons because because they married or whatever. And when you were talking, I was like, he's gotten us all in some way. We've all become more aware of our activity levels because he will post, just did 20 minutes, just did 30 minutes, just did whatever. And I'm actually sitting here watching him do it and thinking, he's really making me sick right now. It's really irritating me right now. But he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right.
Oh man.
One of the reasons I love him. One of the reasons I love him because it takes a strong personality to deal with a strong personality.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But look, I hope folks, who are watching this are taking notes. I know I am, and we'll be taking. I'll be expanding on them at some point. But this is good information because, again, as I touched on with Mr. Johnson, it reaffirmed some of the things that I was already doing, or some of the things I was kind of like, teetering with and have yet to go that mile. So again, having that system of accountability and to have that, I don't know, that system set up to, Mr. Johnson, having a very crafty way of saying something.
Yes.
Right.
Knowing that you're trying to motivate.
Sometimes he's not so subtle. Sometimes you need to go and do that walk. I don't want to hear that right now. I've had a long day. But one of the things about Nicholas, whatever he's done or whatever method he uses, he has researched it to the end. I mean, he has.
Oh, now.
Now he will research it to no end. So I can trust what he's doing. I just don't want to do it right now. But I can.
Well, look, yes, I'm sure most, if not all of us, can relate to that phenomenon there, and it ends up in a positive light. So it's a win-win. Ends up being a win-win for everybody. So I'm curious, right? I got to get this question in. Like what's next on the horizon, and kind of like the legacy, if you will, that you guys would want to continue to leave, because you've been in your respective professions for quite some time, so you've already made an impact on a multitude of people. But kind of what's next, and what do you want to imprint on people's minds as you progress, be it to your next profession or whatever it is you plan to do. Ms. Johnson, I start with you.
So I am inching closer and closer to this nurse practitioner degree, and so I'm on my second to last class.
Okay.
Just finished the women's health clinical, and I've literally just discovered that is where my passion is at the moment. So my goal is to treat women, specifically those marginalized communities, whether they be minorities, impoverished, homeless, teenagers, anyone who just does not have they don't easily access the healthcare system. Those people I'm drawn to, and once again, it's that protective tendency of nursing that is kind of leading or kind of draws me to it. So my goal by May 2022, this upcoming May, I should be finished with my nurse practitioner degree. I've gotten some prospective.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Some prospective offers for coming and work in the area, and that speaks a lot to that experience as you go through clinical.
Mhm.
I always tell my students and my coworkers, whenever you have the opportunity to interact with someone, it's an interview. It is an informal interview.
Exactly.
That has really paid off. And I also want to get my doctorate in nursing. I
Oh,
also
wow.
I'm
Nice.
a GMP, and that will be just the practice. I'm not interested so much in research, but I
Okay.
want to push this nursing education as far as it'll go, and use our healthcare background to advance healthcare in those areas as well. I really do.
Nice.
I want to use those as platforms to further our healthcare outreach. So it's going to be something in healthcare.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're beyond a natural for it, right, Mr. Johnson?
She is that.
Thank you, Nick.
Indeed.
Thank you, Nick.
Indeed.
No, not yeah. Thanks for sharing that, and again, congrats with progressing towards that next degree and certifications and all this other stuff. So sounds good. I'm gonna make sure I stay tied to it. My home state of Georgia and
Please do.
Savannah proper, because I can see everything you just shared. That stuff is needed all over. It's needed nationwide,
Everywhere.
right? It's needed everywhere.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to that next whatever, Ms. Johnson.
And just on a side note, yesterday statistics came out saying that Georgia is the minority population in Georgia is now about 50% of the Georgia population. So there's going to be some changes politically as well as
Oh, wow.
in all areas of everything that affects Georgia. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how people react to this dynamic change and demographics here in Georgia, which is,
Wow.
this is where I need to be right now. I mean, this is where I need to be. The numbers are shifting. It's just changing. I mean, just people are moving, and so yeah, it's changing. It's changing.
That's an eye-popping
Yes, it is.
statistic.
Georgia.
And again, you guys, I'm from Georgia, and the bulk of my family is still there. So, Mr. Johnson,
Yes,
what is
sir.
it for you? What's going on? Be it on the horizon, your next move, your legacy. What do you say?
Uh, well, Chris, for me, a lot of my time, my thinking, my planning is planning for that next phase of life.
Mhm.
Again, I still got several years on the clock to continue doing what I'm doing, but I'm doing a lot of planning, a lot of thought on what's next. Uh, as far as legacy, influence, that type of thing. Uh, for me, my biggest thing is for young people, and starting primarily, of course, with our children and reaching out from there. But for younger people to realize that life is a roller coaster in the sense that it does not go straight up. It's not a straight line up and to the right. But as long as it's a jagged edge, and that's a jagged line that's going up and to the right, you're making progress. You don't know what you don't like doing. You don't know who you want to be until you try something. And so,
That's right.
my big encouragement to a lot of younger people is say, hey, just try it, give it a go. And if it
That's
works
right.
and you enjoy it, great. If it does not work and you don't enjoy it, you are not obligated, or you're not in a lifetime contract, you might say, to stay in that position or to stay with that particular job or to stay with that particular venture. Uh, so, uh, you've heard the saying, another cliche, throw it against the wall and see what happens. But
That's right.
that's one of the things I try to encourage younger people to do as far as when they're trying to figure out who they want to be,
Yeah.
is throw it against the wall and see what happens. Now, personally, I I don't really support the idea of asking a young kid, "What do you want to be when you grow up?"
Mm,
What Because I think learning who you want to be
mm.
is a large part of learning who you do not want to be.
Oh, well, that's
So,
that's a good spin on it. Yes.
it's a large part of learning that, you know what, I don't particularly like this. I'm not sure what I do like, but I've done this, so I know I don't like this.
Right.
And you move on to something else. I tried this, so I don't like that. And it's a process where you go through and you learn what you do not like, what
Yes.
you cannot tolerate, what you
Yes.
don't want to accept into your life. And from that, that's kind of how we figure out who we are and what we want to be
Yeah.
and where we
So,
want to go.
this is one of the reasons why I wholeheartedly agree with what you just said. Something else that you and I have in common, and I don't know if I shared this with you before, but I too started in engineering, right?
Wow.
I was fascinated with bridges and civil engineering. I'm like, what type of engineering is that? Civil and structural engineering. And then,
Hmm. Hmm.
I used to do electrical work with my dad,
Hmm.
so then I became, interested in electrical engineering, right? So my
Hmm.
point is, to your point, I
Hmm.
started in engineering,
Mhm.
started taking the classes, started reading, and I started speaking with and interviewing engineers, current engineers, PEs, or what have
Hmm.
you. And I just saw that, nah,
That's
that's
not
not
it.
what I want to do.
That's not
You know,
it.
Hmm.
so what you just said, that is
That's it.
absolutely so true.
It's so
And
true. It's so
and the
true.
only way, one of the only ways, well, yeah, one of the only ways you can truly ascertain that is to the other point you made was just throw it on the wall, just try it.
Mhm.
Just
Hmm.
and if that really isn't your cup of tea, know yourself and your strengths and your weaknesses, right?
Right.
And you move accordingly. So
That's it.
Right.
thanks for laying that out the way you did.
That's
And
it.
look,
Yeah.
and you two, I I cannot thank you two enough, for being here and just laying out all of that information, especially having two healthcare professionals who have been in your respective career fields for quite some time. Kind of been there, done that, right?
Mhm.
All of the
Right.
credibility that you two have, especially talking wellness in the middle,
Mhm.
still in the middle of a pandemic. So
Right.
thank you guys so much, again, for setting aside the time to share this
You are
information. I
so welcome.
really appreciate it.
You are so welcome. So very
You're
welcome.
very welcome, Chris. You're very
So
welcome.
very
You're
welcome.
very welcome.
And look, I am absolutely looking forward, and looking, towards your next ventures and what you're continuing to do, Ms. Johnson, in the world of pharmacy or what have you. Ms. Johnson, that nursing career, that PhD around the corner, other certifications, other work that you plan to do. I love, you guys know, I enjoy, participating in these type of conversations because I learn so much, obviously about the people I'm interviewing,
Mhm.
but at the same time about me, kind of, certain things that I want to now consider doing and the like. And this is what this platform helps to do: give people as insightful of information as possible, to inform them, from subject matter experts like yourselves, and hopefully inspire, folks who, may be thinking along the same lines. In this case, the healthcare, career field, specifically nursing and pharmacy. So again, I thank you guys. All right, well, everyone, that was Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, a pharmacist and a nurse, who have, as you heard, been there, done that, all types of subject matter expertise and helpful information that will hopefully inspire, you guys. So, thanks for continuing to support lifewriting.com, where writing speaks.